Well, I have to admit that I have been singing that hymn for years and years. Dozens and dozens, maybe 100 times I've sung that hymn. And you know the way that is, right? You've heard something, you've sung something, you've said something over and over, and all of a sudden, something leaps out at you. Come thou fount of every blessing. It's a statement that tells us that God is an endless fountain, an endless source from which all of our blessings come. That text was written by an early Christian pastor and writer named Robert Robinson. And he wrote the text to the familiar hymn when he was 22 years old, mid-1700s. And then the phrase that has really caught me, especially today, the phrase that catches my imagination is, tune my heart. Tune my heart. What does it mean for our heart to be in tune? What does it mean for our hearts to be in tune? You know, we don't have to look any further than this sanctuary to be able to find out what being in tune looks and sounds like. Have you ever been in a room when a piano was being tuned? How many? Yeah? Matthew always says to me, tell me when the piano tuner comes so I can leave the building. You've heard it, right? Ding, 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 for hours. Tuning something is very tedious work. There are 88 keys on a piano and some 230 strings. And when a piano is tuned, the technician goes through each one, banging and playing and adjusting in millimeters to get all of those keys to sound in tune. And what about the pipe organ? Did you know that the pipe organ at St. Paul's has how many pipes? Give me a guess. I hear 80, I hear 700 higher. We're coming up on campaign season, y'all. How many? Do I hear 1,000? Do I hear 1,500? Do I hear 2,667? 2,667 pipes. And when a pipe organ is tuned, each one of those has to be handled and touched and manipulated, and it can take days. The largest pipe organ is located in Atlantic City, and it has 33,112 pipes. So there are various factors. There are various factors that influence tuning: environment, temperature, humidity. And in fact, most pianos, that piano has a humidification system to kind of create its own environment. And organs are pretty sensitive instruments. Also, outside factors that can wreak havoc on metal and leather and wood, all of which affects tuning. And then, of course, there's the human voice. Human tuning, human voices attached to human personalities. Singing in tune or not in tune. Chris, what does it sound like when a choir sings in tune? Lovely. Chris, what does it sound like when a choir sings out of tune? Lovely. Always lovely, right? So what could it mean for our hearts? Our hearts, to be in tune. Tune my heart, we ask God. Well, I think we all know what it means. And when we know what it feels like mostly when our hearts are not in tune with God. When something's not right. When we seem out of step. When something is just off. So if being in tune means to be in that good space of speaking with God and hearing God's voice line up with our own, with feeling God's heart line up with our own heart, you can also feel it when there is a disalignment. Well, when I think about the role of the church, I think of the church as a tuning mechanism. The church is kind of like that pitch pipe or that tuning fork that helps us all get back into the right key with God. And let's face it, y'all, the world in which you and I live and move every day, it's out there singing lots of different songs. There are people out there with so many different voices, singing in so many different ways. And I have to ask, are they humming tunes of compassion? Are they whistling notes of unity? Or are there choirs of people out there singing about individualism and getting ahead and getting more? There are voices out there that seem, to me at least, that they're not even interested in being in tune, and they'd rather be the lone voice. What does the hymn say? Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it. But here's the thing about being in tune. Being in tune means that we have to be in tune with something. And for us, our every effort is about being in tune with the tones and the tunes and the teachings of Jesus of Nazareth, who himself hummed with the image of God. And the church is here to remind us of what that looks like and sounds like. Our community giving campaign begins today. And if you've not already, you'll receive information in your mailboxes. Yes, mailboxes. Real things arriving in a real mailbox. And in the material, you'll find a brochure and a magnet that details how St. Paul seeks to be a place that tunes our hearts, that keeps our voices unified as we seek to bring healing and justice to our community. So here's that brochure. See if any of these things helps your heart stay tuned. Acknowledging the legacies of our powerful history. Exploring the mystery of God's unfolding creation. Opening ourselves to brave conversations. Welcoming the rich diversity of God's humanity. Caring for one another and our community, and celebrating life through authentic, creative worship. And finally, there's the act of giving itself. The act of giving to the church serves to keep us in tune with each other and with God as we realize that every single breath we take and note we sing and movement we make is a gift from God. Every single one of them. Today, our reading from the Gospel of Matthew has to do with obedience. Obedience. There were two children, and the parent needed help out in the field. One heard the need for help and responded, and the other did not. Simple as that. It has to do with an obedience, and not a passive submission obedience like sit, roll over, wag your tail, shake. Not that kind of obedience. Obedience is a spiritual practice and a spiritual discipline, and it comes from words meaning to listen and to hear. And that sense of obedience, of listening, of hearing, of responding is what we do in the church and in our ministries as we seek to take the love and the justice of God out there to a hurting, chaotic, chattery, out of tune world. And this is why we support the church. Not because we get something out of it. Giving to the church is not transactional. We respond, we give, we are obedient as a part of responding to God's care for us. We respond, we give because we believe that through this place, God is acting and speaking, and we want as many people as possible to hear and experience it. So what does it mean to tune our hearts? Such a lovely image. Well, this community has been doing it for over 175 years. And we've sought to do God's will and bring heaven closer. And have we always gotten it right? Heavens no. But remember, the process of tuning can be slow, it can be tedious, and maybe even a little bit painful, as God is always transforming and shaping us. And we all have our own notes, we all have our own way of putting it out there, and it doesn't have to be perfect. As long as it comes from our heart, we know that it pleases God. And so today, with God's help and with this church community and with those who have come and gone before us, alongside each other and our neighbor, we come here to tune our hearts for service, to train our ears to listen, and to turn our wandering feet in the ways of justice and peace. So I know sometimes singing makes people nervous. So today we're going to hum. If you've ever served in a ministry in this church, hum. Keep it going. Take all the breath you need. If you've ever come to this church when you're feeling low, hum. If this church has ever been a part of a difficult situation and helped you see the light at the end of the tunnel, hum. If you've ever come to this church to give thanks for something awesome, hum. If you've ever felt the presence of God in this community and feel like this church is up to something good, hum. And if you're in the room or out there, part of our online community, and you managed to make it to church today, hum. Beautiful. Come, thou fount of every blessing, tune our hearts to sing your praise, to live your praise, and to be your praise. Amen.